Welcome to the Irish Revolution. Last month, in January 1919, the first Dáil, the revolutionary parliament, was declared, and the first major armed attack by Republican forces took place in Soloheadbeg in Tipperary against a police escort. In Paris, the post-war peace conference is ongoing, and there are hopes among Republican leaders that they'll get a fair hearing for the Irish Republic there. The President of the Irish Republic, Eamon de Valera, has been imprisoned in Lincoln Jail in England since May 1918. This month, Irish Republicans will perform an audacious operation to break him out of it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and remember to click the bell icon in order to receive notifications. YouTube is really rubbish at telling subscribers when a new video is uploaded unless you do that. And a personal note, I'm sorry my voice is a little hoarse today. I'm getting over a little flu. But I'll be alright, don't worry too much about me. Most of today will cover the jailbreak of Eamon de Valera and what he did once he returned to Ireland. I know some of you will expect there to be talk of shootings and whatnot, but the truth of it is that there just wasn't all that much activity in 1919. The violence ramped up dramatically in 1920, and we're still a good year away from talking about the so-called Tan War and the IRA campaign. At the very end, I'll talk about the brewing intelligence war with Michael Collins. Anyway, I hope de Valera's jailbreak will keep you interested. It's known as de Valera's jailbreak from Lincoln, but it involved two other Republican prisoners as well, Sean McGarry and Sean Milroy. At the suggestion of Gustavus I, I'm going to open each episode with a mini biography of the main characters of each episode. This month's will predominantly feature three figures who will go on to be instrumental during the revolutionary period: Eamon de Valera, Michael Collins and Harry Boland. Eamon de Valera, or Dev as he was known, was one of the leaders of the 1916 Rising, a signatory of the 1916 Proclamation of the Irish Republic. He was not executed due to his American connections. He would go on to become the president of the self-declared republic and was perhaps the best known of the Republican figures at the time, and would soon become internationally famous, particularly in the USA, where he would spend much of the War of Independence raising money and trying to garner the energy of the Irish-American movement there. Michael Collins. Well, likely you've all heard of Michael Collins, but a few words in case you haven't. The big fellow was perhaps the best known of the revolutionary generation. He has his own biopic after all, and featuring a young Liam Neeson. They said he had the Irish Republic all in his head. Although a minor figure in the 1916 Easter Rising, he came to prominence during his imprisonment in Frongach in Wales, and later became the indispensable Republican, leading the secretive Irish Republican Brotherhood organisation, and de facto was in charge of, or at least called most of the shots at general headquarters of the Irish Volunteers. He led the intelligence war with the British, crippling their ability to generate military intelligence on the island. A few words on Harry Boland now. If you've seen the Michael Collins film, you'll know Harry Boland as Michael Collins' friend and rival in a love triangle. He was a senior Republican at the time and plays a big part in the story today, as he participated in the jailbreak of Eamon de Valera. He later went on to accompany de Valera on his American mission, and when he was there he helped coordinate the tour, and he helped purchase some arms, some weapons for the IRA. So back to the jailbreak, de Valera and the jailbreak from Lincoln. So, de Valera was initially the brains behind the thing. He had got an impression of the chaplain's master key in late November and alerted Dublin by alluding to a Christmas card from Sean McGarry which depicted a large key drawn by Sean Milroy. The first three messages sent to Dublin were perhaps overly subtle, written as they were in English, Latin or Irish. De Valera was already famous for the subtlety of his language, and for less discerning minds, he was often a confusing fellow to converse with, perhaps a slippery sort of fellow. Well, that's just my 2 cents, eh? By the fourth message, Dublin seemed to have gotten the message, and 3 keys were produced, 2 sent to England to be baked into a cake, and the last kept by Harry Boland. Michael Collins and Harry Boland went to England to personally supervise the jailbreak, but it would not have happened at all without the assistance of a man called Fitton Murphy, who you've likely never heard of. And personally speaking, I just like to give a few words to lads like himself, because they pop up here and there and you never hear or see them again, and it's good to immortalise them a wee bit, you know, to remember them, because they all played a wee part, a wee job, wee part in the revolution. So Murphy carried one of the 4 cakes with the jail keys that were used in the escape. Yes, just like the old cartoon, they used keys hidden in cakes, and acquired a rope ladder and brought it from London to Collins and Boland in Manchester. He ran the control centre from Worksop, from where he controlled a network of safe houses where they'd be able to hide De Valera until he was able to return to Ireland. Now, there was a bit of bother with the keys and the whole operation took longer than originally planned, but eventually on the night of the 3rd of February, Collins and Boland cut through the perimeter wire while De Valera and Sean Milroy and Sean McGarry let themselves out with duplicate keys. Everyone got away without the prison staff noticing. De Valera himself disparaged the security arrangements of the prison. The operation itself was not without its difficulties. Collins broke one of the keys on the outer gate of the prison. De Valera had his own key from the inside and pushed out the shank, turned it and made his getaway with a fur-lined coat supplied by Harry Boland. Perhaps dressed as a prostitute, I'll leave that to your imagination. The jailbreak was audacious and a great Republican propaganda triumph. According to the historian David Fitzpatrick, it, quote, only later emerged that De Valera's great fear was that he would be released before having the opportunity to escape, unquote, implying that he was going to be released anyway and that the operation was pointless. Nonetheless, the success of the jailbreak would go on to inspire countless other jailbreak attempts over the coming years. So, international recognition. De Valera had returned to Ireland clandestinely on the 20th of February. Collins had originally wanted a great parade, but in the end this was considered ill-advised. De Valera's first act upon his return was to conduct an interview that would then be published by 700 newspapers in the United States. De Valera was clearly attuned to the importance of American public opinion in Britain, and how the Irish, with their unique political power there, could exert a type of influence on American foreign policy. Ralph F. Couch, the American journalist, was taken to meet De Valera blindfolded. The interview consisted of, quote, one comprehensive question, the reply to which Mr. De Valera wrote with his own hand, unquote. Even this was slightly amended the following day. This was no real interview, no real dialogue. De Valera and Boland developed the ideas explored in this interview into a statement of Ireland's case to be presented to the Paris Peace Conference, which was ongoing at the time. When it was eventually published on the 12th of March, it caused some controversy as it explicitly condoned violence as a last resort. Quote, if the Paris Conference fails to take steps to extend self-determination to Ireland, violence will be the only alternative left to Irish patriots. This will mean something like continued revolution until Ireland's rights are recognised. We hope to avoid violence, but if we must fight again to regain our rights, we shall not hesitate, unquote. It was clear that the War of Independence was underway. Now, a few words on the intelligence war. I just want to say a few things before we leave today. Something I overlooked the last month, the intelligence war. Something huge happened in January 1919. Ned Bry met Michael Collins in that month. Ned Bry was an official typist at the G Spy Division headquarters in Great Brunswick Street. In his own words, he, quote, immediately I met him. I knew he was a man who could beat the British and I decided to work for him from then on, unquote. Bry was a confidential typist and had access to all kinds of invaluable documents. When he felt he had a useful document for Collins, he would insert a piece of carbon and make an extra copy for him. He would pass these on to Collins in weekly meetings he had, along with the older double agent Joe Kavanagh, a 60-year-old G-man who had taken part in identifying leaders of the Easter Rising and had clearly lived to regret it. Just as an aside, the historian Diarmaid Ferreter suggests there was some kind of homoerotic fascination that Ned Bry had with Michael Collins. Reading some of Bry's comments, it's rather hard to disagree with that point of view. It was a bit too fanboy-like. Part of the genius of Collins and the volunteers was recognising that there was plenty of Republicans within the police or the Dublin Castle administration. Rather than allowing them to resign, as many had wanted to, Collins preferred them to stay in place and feed him information. This happened down the country as well, maybe perhaps to a lesser extent, but it did happen, and it's one of the reasons why the campaign turned out to be successful. Alright, thanks again everybody for watching. Please remember to subscribe. If you like the video, consider liking it there on the YouTube button. This helps with the YouTube algorithm. And sorry again about my voice. I hope the next time I record I'll be not sick anyway. So thanks again and good luck now. Talk to you soon. Good luck.